I am Maggie mic'd up, and you probably shouldn't listen to me. I am in no way a professional. I am simply a person that grew up in a world of chaos and managed to find a quiet place in that world for myself. I have worked extensively on my own healing. I've burned the bridges that reliably allowed bringers of chaos into my life, and I have replaced them with bridges that allow me to advance in the quiet I covet. This may be relatable for those of you that also grew up with the flames of chaos engulfing your environment, and may help you form your own path to peace. Get to know me as I share my perspective on various life struggles and how I found myself peace in paradise. Today's episode is brought to you by the blue jays that have been eating the sunflowers in my yard. Thank you for bringing me joy this week. Enjoy the additional peanuts. Let us begin with a question from user Beginning Squirrels. 40s female here. I get together on average once a month with a certain two friends, same age, both female. Whenever I offer to host at my house, they, one more so than the other, deflect and offer to go out or have it at one of their houses. I set up a meeting for this week, and finally, despite my friend suggesting to go out, I am getting to host. I offered to make a simple dessert, after which one friend said she would bring drinks, and that's just fine. The other friend said, we can just have drinks. I stated again that I would also make dessert. I'm tired of being steamrolled. This all happened via group text. I haven't had them over in years because of this, and I've wondered this whole time why they don't take me up more often on hosting. I stopped offering for a while because I got the impression that they don't like my house, my food, etc. But I can't for the life of me think of what it could be. My house is small, but I have enough furniture. It's clean, and I'm a clean cook. I thought it might be the dog since my one friend isn't crazy about dogs, but I have told them that the dog won't be here. Wondering if I should bring it up like an honest adult, or just let it go when I have them over later this week. Just tell them what I've noticed and ask if there's something I could do differently. I just want them to be straight with me. If the main friend that doesn't like dogs has allergies, there may be nothing you can do. If a house has had a cat in it, my allergies will react whether that cat is in the home currently, off on an adventure, locked in a room, or any of the many options. Once a cat has laid on the couch, kitchen chair, or rolled on a carpet, or a cat tree, the location of the cat no longer matters. Everything the cat leaves behind is enough to cause a reaction. There are very few people that I am willing to regularly suffer for. Therefore, I don't go to people's homes often. I'd look more into the reason this bothers you so much. If the dog isn't the reason, perhaps they like the size or style of their homes a bit more. Is their furniture located in a better way to visit? Is their TV in a better location to watch a show together? Does their kitchen have an island that allows for better hosting? Maybe the lighting is better. Do the locations selected usually have an easy way for them to get home if you go out for drinks? If they stay over at your other friend's house, is their guest room a little bougie? When you host at your house, do you tend to drink a little bit more because you don't have to find your way home? Maybe they feel you are unaware that you spittle a little bit more when you've had that extra glass of wine. Did they spill something or break something that caused a reaction from you, either at your house or anywhere else? There are countless reasons. They may just want to be somewhere else. So we get back to why it is so important for you to host. If you ask them and they do have an answer, will it hurt your feelings? What if it's something you can't help? Like parking spaces available on your street versus the ample parking in their neighborhoods. Will you be okay with that? If you get word that a year ago you made a pie for the crew and someone found a hair in it and it made them uncomfortable, will you be okay? Maybe it's the only hair that has ever been in any of the food you've ever cooked, but it doesn't change the fact that it was there and they will never again be able to trust your food or drink. If you feel like you can handle their answer, whatever it may be, just ask them. Maybe address it in a similar way to, "I really enjoy hosting and have noticed that people choose other locations to my house. Is there a particular reason? Perhaps I can work to make my house a little more hospitable for the two of you and anyone else that may want to come over." However, if you may not appreciate knowing that when you pooped the last time they were at your house, they heard every sound that came from your washroom due to your registers echoing, or that you went to the storage room to get something and your boyfriend called, leaving a very saucy voicemail on your machine that everyone heard, it is okay to simply accept that they prefer other locations. Moving on to user classic possible. There are a couple of birds around my house. If I leave some bird food in my backyard, will they come themselves, or is there some sort of technique to attract them? The answer is to simply put bird food out for them. Now, the best way to go about this is to look into what kind of birds they are, to find out what they prefer to eat, and provide that for them. If you put out the wrong food, they will likely find the yards that put out the right food. Seed can be a good choice, but we have gotten a little more specific with our bird feeding. We also plant flowers, such as sunflowers, to keep our burbs happy. They leave our pets alone, as our pets leave them alone, and they chase away the large amount of free-roaming cats in the area. It's quite nice. The birds have brought us a whole lot of peace and joy year-round for years, including a set of ducks that crash-landed when my husband was out in the yard a few years ago. It's nice that they trust us enough to come back each year. Not those ducks, I don't think they've been back, but we've also had a pair of hawks that raised their young for a couple of years. They've since moved on. It's more difficult to encourage them to come back every year. We only have so many trees for them. My least favorite, but possibly most important situation is from user datbeckyy. Following this, we will have a relationship breakdown to finish off this episode. Female, 25, living alone here. There is exactly one spot in my tiny house that I had not shuffled through in a while. An upper kitchen cabinet directly next to the back door. It had grains, grits, some old cracker boxes, stuff that had gone stale. I knew I needed to throw it out, but since it was not gross, dirty, or smelly, nor were there chewed holes in the corner of the boxes that would indicate mice or anything that I could see from the surface, so I left it untouched for a while. I did not have a bug problem. I do not, present tense, thank God, have German roaches or the small roaches that spread everywhere. My brother just came and spent 3 days with me 2 weeks ago, and he said he didn't see a single one inside the entire time. I was confident that I kept a clean, roach-free house, except I forgot about the cabinet. Preparing for my parents to visit, my dad's first time seeing my little house, I was doing some extra cleaning. I found myself standing on boxes to reach that upper, quite neglected cabinet. And when I started to move things, that's when I heard it. The clicking and skittering, and I saw a leg, and then another, and then a glimpse of a big roach. And then it was absolute mayhem. Luckily, I had roach spray, and I literally soaked the entirety of the inside of those cabinet shelves. I may have given myself brain damage with all the fumes. I stalked them, poisoned, but still trying to escape, smashed at least 15 by hand in the initial attack. Then another 15 or so when they slowed down a lot. Since, I've picked up about 10 plus bodies, belly up, and also dead inside the cabinet. Once the thick of it was over, I trashed every single item on those cabinets, obviously. My spiciest, lowest cabinet shelf are soaking in soapy water. I sprayed 3 times over 3 days around the cabinets, inside all surfaces, and into the cracks at the back of the cabinet that leads into the wall. This morning, I only woke up to 2 belly-up roaches. All of them have been very large, winged palmetto bugs. So did I find a nest or something? I don't even like typing out nest. I didn't find any eggs or small ones that resembled babies. Maybe it was just a hangout spot because it was next to the back door and there was a food source. How many more times should I spray? Should I knock down the walls and burn the entire house? I think I have PTSD now from hearing that scrambled, panicking skittering of their crunchy, giant bodies between things in my cabinet. The too long didn't read is, I found a ton of palmetto bugs in my cabinet by the back door. I think I killed them all. Anyway, to be sure, should I ever use this cabinet again? Any way I can be sure the cracks to the wall aren't where more are? I sprayed directly into the cracks. Should I seal the cracks somehow with putty or something before putting anything of mine back into the cabinet? Thanks to anyone who reads, doesn't judge me too much, and comments with any advice. As a nightmare sufferer, I can safely say this is worse than anything I've ever dreamed up. I can safely say that you are doing everything that you should do in this situation. If you're still concerned, some steps I would consider include leaving sticky traps in that cupboard and around my whole house to ensure there are no remaining friends to reproduce the next time something gets forgotten about in a cupboard. Even if one more is found, especially if it's found anywhere other than this cupboard, I would either get a bug bomb and leave for a few days to allow it to work, or, and this is a likely route I'd go, is to call an exterminator and let them know the situation. They might be able to either give better advice or come out and help. If you have a landlord, let them know so they can ensure they do everything on their end to take care of their property and to ensure if there is anything else they are required to do as a landlord, they can do it in a timely fashion before this is a major issue. If you have neighbors, like in a condo or a townhouse or an apartment, you definitely need to let someone know because there's a chance that other units also need to be taken care of. If you have no landlord and you are comfortable with the efforts you have done to ensure your home remains bug-free, the only thing I would add, in addition to the sticky traps, is a stepladder so you're able to check the higher up locations in your home to ensure they remain pest-free. Congratulations on evicting the palmetto bugs. You may now rest knowing that you handled this in a far more grown-up way than I ever could. Our dog brought in a friend one time, a little mouse. I all but moved out of our house that night. We put 65 or so traps of all varieties, sticky, snap, and whatever else exists. We took the dogs and left the house for hours and went back late that night to check the traps. Thankfully, we'd caught her friend about a foot from where she released it. We left the traps out everywhere, and to date, we have caught a couple of flies and 2 spiders. Overall, I feel pretty okay about our house now. Finally, we hear from user NoTail5495. My boyfriend and I have been together for approximately 11 months. I own my own home and have been divorced from my first husband for around 2 years. My current partner works in the yachting industry, kind of like the show Below Deck, and I am a former yachtie who is now land-based. My boyfriend's boat doesn't travel, and he has been staying with me around 95% of the time. He is paid a very good salary, as is customary in the yachting industry, more than double my salary, which is also very good for a land-based position in our industry. I was fine with him living with me and not contributing to the household expenses until his 13-year-old daughter from his previous marriage came to stay with us for the summer. To be fair, he is very handy and does a lot of projects around the house, repairs to my air conditioner, mows the lawn, and pays for the majority of our drinks when we go out, maybe once a week. I requested that he contribute around 30% financially towards the household costs. This caused several arguments. He eventually paid some money towards the time she stayed there. Ultimately, he has decided to move back on board. There is free room and board on all boats, and wants us to buy a house in both of our names, rent my house, and move into our home with him. I have told him I would consider buying a house with him if we were further along in our relationship and had some time under our belt sharing expenses. House prices are terrible in our area. The only ones we could consider purchasing are double what I paid for mine and in terrible condition. He disagrees and feels that he's wasting his time if I'm not his ride or die. Any advice would be really helpful. I am very unsure on how to move forward. Thank you. You don't have a man, you have a trap. This covers pretty much your full situation. No part of this scenario will give you any sense of peace, in my opinion. Younger me would have jumped in head first. Younger me had zero stability. Current me spends time watching market trends for a long time before I consider large purchases. I will not buy or sell property if it is not a financially sound decision. I will not base major purchases off of my emotions. I encourage everyone to take time to consider their options. At this point, don't buy a house. 11 months in, and to be expected to be ride or die for someone that is likely not ride or die for you is a heavy expectation. It sounds like his view of the world is a little on the juvenile side. If he truly wants to purchase a home, let him, in his own name, with bills in his own name, without help from you. When I lived away in camp and stayed with family while home, I had a very skewed view of what rent, bills, a mortgage, etc. would be like. When we purchased our first home, I struggled to see an equitable split of the responsibilities and bills. Together, over time, we have learned financial literacy and see eye to eye on most things. I will also say that the bare minimum of repairing your AC, mowing the lawn, and paying for drinks is much less than should be expected from a man with a 13-year-old child. A very wise person I spoke to said they'd spent a long time watching a man make a big show out of mowing the lawn. When they had to do it themselves, they were shocked at how easy it was. Don't let this man do the bare minimum and then force or guilt you into buying a house, especially when the interest rates are so extreme. There are people that are having their mortgages extended by years due to the amount of payment that is going towards interest. As always, if you agree or disagree with any advice I've provided, please let me know in the comments below. Feel free to share additional advice you have for each person in the comments on YouTube. If you'd like to reach out for advice, send me an email to maggieMikedUpSubmissions@gmail.com or contact me on social media at MaggieMikedUp. If you'd like to hear more from me, like this podcast and subscribe to my podcast and social medias.